claptrap, then give me a better explanation as to how a man can be in the White House with the ear of a president who thinks that the guy I just played you is cool. 0345 6060973. Louise is in Fulham. Louise, what would you like to say?
Yeah, hi. I think you're right. You've raised a lot of important issues, and we are in really worrying times. And it seems that what you've just identified, which is people saying we're sick of this liberalism, this being PC, ties in very clearly with also wanting to break rules and saying that it's cool to break rules. And this isn't something that's just limited to America. So you mentioned the fact that the new president has broken rules. We've all been looking at how he's tweeted that he'd like Nigel Farage to be the new UK ambassador to the US. I mean, everybody knows that the way the system works is that the UK appoints its ambassadors to other countries. And, you know, we have a fast-track service, but it's not that fast. And the same thing is happening on the other side of the Atlantic here. We've got a government who's saying that to trigger something as important as Article 50, they're just going to bypass Parliament. We've got judges pointing out that that's not actually the way the Constitution and our law works. We've got people criticising the judges for saying that's not how it works. Meanwhile, you've got David Davis in Brussels today and minister after minister going over to Brussels and saying we want to be able to negotiate a framework deal before we even trigger Article 50. And people in Brussels having to point out that that's not how EU law works. And it just strikes me that we're meant to be, Britain and America are meant to be a role model for successful Western democracies. And right now, we're losing a hell of a lot of credibility.
But we want to. I mean, in democratic terms, we have chosen to do what you describe as a hell of a lot of credibility, to lose it. We've chosen to. It's a democratic decision. I mean, when you hear those comments there, and you know that this isn't some sort of freakish meeting in the back of a pub. This is a guy that claims to have invented the phrase alt-right. Nobody has disputed his claim to have done that. And he's routinely praised by a website run by Donald Trump's strategy chief, the chief of strategy, one of the most powerful unelected people on the planet, theoretically. And you, like me, expect 90-odd% of the country to be, or 90-odd% of people who can hear that, to be up in arms. And they're not.
Well, I don't expect them to be up in arms for the very simple reason I'm the Chelsea and Fulham Liberal Democrat candidate, and I've been speaking to a lot of constituents who've been what you call kind of hidden far-right ringers, who say things like, you know, actually, in the past I voted UKIP. Oh, they're an awful party, I admit, but sometimes you've just got to make a stand. And the message which keeps coming back to me is we're sick of having liberals tell us that because we have our certain point of view, we're either stupid or we're nasty people. Now, I'm not going to comment on the far-right situation in America because that's just terrifying and appalling.
But this is... I recognise what you describe. It's a very well-rehearsed argument. But I suppose I'm happy to sort of stand up and say I might well be one of the people who stands accused of shutting down this argument. But that's kind of proving us right now. This is what happens when you don't shut it down. This is what happens. Because white supremacism goes mainstream. So all these people who say, oh, you can't talk about immigration without being called a racist. You say, all right, fill your boots, and there's Zeke Hailing in Washington or New York.
It's absolutely terrifying. What I would respond to that is that now, more than ever, countries like America and the United Kingdom need to actually stick to the rules that are in place to protect us from this very scary environment. And the idea that we're just going to try and bypass lots of rules and criticise judges and ignore the normal system for appointing ambassadors, etc., is... I
don't think we are, but you know that little grumble will grow and people will be saying, well, why can't Donald Trump decide who they are? He's a big, strong guy. And that's kind of where we are.